To this now, the City of Tshwane doesn't appear to be happy about the sanctions that were given against 5 officials who were accused of gross negligence in the awarding of the nearly 300 million rand Rooiwal Wastewater Treatment Plant tender. Now, this, of course, is, that this particular issue has been quite topical. You think about some of the reports that are suggesting that this disciplinary process taking about a year found these officials, they are senior of, being guilty of one of the 4 charges that they face. The city is not happy, of course, looking at also the company that was awarded this particular tender. And this is the bid evaluation committee that's also finding itself now under scrutiny. But let's discuss this further now and speak to Selby Bokaba, who speaks for the City of Tshwane. Selby, thank you so much for your time this evening. I mean, some of the charges you think about, allowing the company involved to progress to the next stage without being registered with the Construction Industry Development Board. This is just but one, but they were only found guilty of one of the 4 charges that they faced, and the city is not happy. Tell us why.
Good evening, Bongiwe and the viewers. We are not happy with the ruling of the chairperson. If you look at the seriousness of the charges, and if you look at the finding on this particular charge where the officials were found guilty, and you compare that with the sanction, you can see that the sanction is not proportional to the finding. And this is not the only part that we are taking on review. We are taking the entire findings, the entire report of the chairperson of the DC on review, because we believe that the charges or the allegations that the 5 officials faced are serious and of such a nature that a sentence should have been, or a sanction should have been, a harsher one.
And when then, as you say that you are taking it to the review, I suppose then to the courts?
We are taking it on review at the Labour Court, and they will remain on suspension pending a review of the ruling. The chairperson of the board suggested that, or ruled that they be suspended for 1 month without pay. And we disagreed with that decision, and they will remain on suspension until such time that the matter has been ventilated at the Labour Court.
And they've only been found guilty, of course, of the charge of evaluating the winning bidder on the supply belt presses with a width of 1.4 meters when the specification required was a 2-meter width. But you also look at some of the charges that were brought against these particular officials, making consensus-based decisions instead of evaluating independently as members of the bid evaluation committee. One then asks Selby, and I wonder then, what does the city say to this? If you're taking this matter with such seriousness, you're even getting it reviewed in the courts, is there anything barring the city currently, if it feels so strongly and possibly has evidence, to take this matter on, criminally as well, to charge them?
Well, that's a separate process, Bongi, that is being undertaken by the SIU and the Hawks. Our focus was merely on the flouting of the supply chain management procedure.
And I understand that process was undertaken by the SIU, but is there anything barring the city as well from doing its own, process here as well in that particular regard? That's what I'm trying to get at.
We don't want to jump the gun.
Okay.
If those other agencies assist with the matter, there's no need for us to undertake a similar process. Whatever the outcome of those investigations, we will be finished with the outcome, and we will make a determination if there's a need to augment whatever charges that those agencies assist with. Given
the fact that, these officials are quite senior, Selby, what impact has this had, on the image of the city and particularly some of the tender processes?
Of course, the image of the institution has taken a hammering out of this, which is why we have taken such a stance. It's uncommon to hear of an employer taking a matter on review. It's normally the other way around. It's normally the officials that were implicated or that participated in the hearing that would be unhappy with the outcome, and they would take the matter on review. But this time around, we have demonstrated that even though the DC process was independent, we are not happy with the outcome, and we will not take this matter lying down. We are going to vigorously review it at the Labour Court, because we believe that the chairperson erred in law, and the entirety of the report must be reviewed, because we believe that another court will arrive at a different finding.
And what are you doing then at a practical level, particularly as far as contracts are concerned? I mean, if you look at the fact that members of the bid evaluation committee are making consensus-based decisions instead of evaluating independently, that is also one that is startling. So what are you doing to ensure that you are tightening some of these processes so you don't find yourselves here again?
Well, there are a number of interventions that we have introduced. One was to rotate members of the BEC. Secondly, we are engaging with National Treasury on a continuous basis. They are assisting us with training, and we are also engaging in workshops that are facilitated by National Treasury. So our officials are getting training from National Treasury, and we've also developed an SOP, a standard operating procedure, to make sure that some of the things that had happened, some of the things that had slipped through, do not recur in the future.
Are you able to share with us what's first on the list of the SOP?
Well, it's basically to tighten up things and to make sure that there is some form of watchdog in the form of the CFO overseeing the process, whatever it is. Because remember, the chairperson of the BEC was the person who was the head of the supply chain. And the CFO is responsible, chair the bid adjudication committee. But now we have given more powers to the CFO, that you should not only await the process to come to him at BAC level, but must also continuously oversee that process at BEC level. But importantly, Bongi, is that we have removed the head of supply chain and has been replaced with somebody else. Before the suspension had happened, we had already taken action by removing the head of supply chain, who is the chairperson of the BEC.
So, Selby, then as a final question, are those papers before the Labour Court right now, or is this still an intention?
We are going to file in the first week of May. We have sought legal opinion, and we are collecting all the necessary documentation to file. This is something that is urgent, and we'll make sure that in the first week of May, we will be filing in the Labour Court.
All right. Selby, thank you so much for your time. We'll then look to those papers and see some of the arguments there and the respondents and how they then going to be responding. As you say that you're not happy as the city when it comes to this particular matter. That was Selby Bokaba, spokesperson for the City of Tshwane.